This is Talking in My Walking. I am Rodrigo Ribeiro, and today I'm going to talk about capital S power, class unity, and the role of the state. Capital is power, and capital in all its forms is always power. It doesn't matter is in tangible or non-tangible forms. Capital is power. That's why it's important to understand the legal ways, the how private proprietary rights are important as power to impose. There is always the rhetoric of meritocracy. This is absolutely in order to break down, debunk capital as power, not only as a way of exploiting people, not as a tool to exploit people and control society, but as a form of power through all means. That's why it is so pervasive. It is like it's exactly like Jason Moore's defense. It's the capital in the web of life. It is exactly that's why we cannot understand the Anthropocene. We cannot understand why mankind, or humankind, if you care about those things, is enslaved is enslaved in many ways to the Capitalocene. The Capitalocene is we live in the era of the Capitalocene, and capital S power needs to be understood in all its implications, in how it rules our lives, in the sense that is exactly not for that capital, that the people that talk about freedom, and especially they talk about free markets and the self-interest and all that rubbish. That is theoretically it is logical, but again, I always like to emphasize it. We are not rational beings. We understand and follow logic, but logic has nothing to do. Logical can lead us to understand something in a real factual way, or logic can just be used to deceive us all the way. So that's why meritocracy, the free market logic, okay, the market economy logic seems okay. This is okay. This is fair. This is how we can provide for each other, and the economy can achieve a certain balance, equilibrium. So the concept of equilibrium. But it doesn't work like that, because if we do not understand capital as power, we do not understand the role of capital in the economy and of course in the society. Because power is everywhere and capital is the tool. Capital is the tool, because capital, power, power is something is used to control people. To control people, resources, territory. Capital is the tool. Any form of capital is the tool to control. So then the power is about concentration. Is about concentration of control and accumulation of wealth. It's not about meritocracy. The people, the people that are, I think we don't even understand what being a billionaire means. And that why it matters, why it really matters that you can have, that you control capital, that you can use you can just just imagine the power that you can use. For example, $100 million, for example, to influence elections, to finance, to put up a PR campaign that can be long-term campaign to indoctrinate and instrumentalize the public. Not everybody, of course. Not everybody can be propagandized, or at least effectively. We all are influenced by propaganda, but some of us will wake up. It's like they said. It's like the quote, which I don't remember the author, but people go mad in crowds, and they come to their senses one by one. And this is so true in every sense. So we all are affected by propaganda. It doesn't matter what kind of propaganda. That's why it works, because as class unity is the most dangerous concept. If you have a world that is controlled by the few, by the very few, nationally or internationally, globally, whatever, what do they fear most? What they really fear most is exactly class unity. Because if there was class unity, and by class unity I mean people that could understand comprehensively what kind of system, economic system, social system, and civilizational paradigm that would allow us all to live well and have meaningful lives, not focus in luxury and extravagance and conspicuous consumption and all that shit, which that's what rules our lives. And we could have that worldwide. People do not need to suffer unnecessary suffering. This is something that really makes me feel deeply sad. It's not only about disgust and anger. It is really sadness that it would be so easy to have an international order based on cooperation, not in great power competition. That is so obsolete. This is the inheritance of all the imperialistic mindset that class unity, national and international, should be about. But as I said, if we do not understand the depth of we are manipulated, because these people have the power to use, as they have the leverage, because they not only have money, but they can use all forms of capital to leverage their power even further. That's why the accumulation of wealth needs to have a ceiling, a maximum ceiling that is obvious. Because then those corporations, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Those corporations, by corporations I mean banking, financial institutions, big business, big oil, big pharma, big ag, and also they will control the international economy, they will control governments, they will control everything. So the role of the state, instead of being what's the purpose of the role of the state, which is to protect national sovereignty and for the well-being, the collective well-being of the population, that's why we have a nation. That's why we have a sovereign currency, because it's the borders, within the borders of a country. That's the definition of sovereignty, that you have control through the state. The government is only the manager of the state, is not the state. Okay, we need to understand that. So then these people only grow. Just listen to this. Different sounds. Okay. So these companies, these corporations, these transnational corporations, just grow bigger and bigger and have more political power. That is that they have all the leverage over the rest of us through the control of governments and through the control of the functions of the state, and they even and the problem is that they use this rhetoric, this demagoguery about the state. They would not survive without the state. They need the monopoly of the violence, of the state monopoly of violence, as a way to impose internationally and nationally the power of the state. But unfortunately, we live exactly. That's why the relevance of the understanding how capital, that's understanding how the Capitalocene explains the Anthropocene, because it has been through the accumulation of capital, of wealth and private property and proprietary rights and all what comes with that, that has been the driving force behind all the revolutions, all the the industrial revolution and the agricultural revolution and everything that has, because capital through or capitalism, the system, the capitalist system, through manufacture, scarcity and austerity, puts us, the many, in a situation where you don't have any other choice but look for a job. So it means that we need to be available, to be exploited in order to survive. That's why it's so sorry. The search for profit and unlimited accumulation of wealth, and again, this needs to be understood in a way as capital as power. It's not only about accumulation of wealth, it's about concentration of power for control. And it's a endless, it's never enough, since you have to compete with your peers, which means since the capitalist class, the oligarchs and plutocrats, they can agree with each other in many things, but they also compete. They are not just a homogeneous group. They can unite against us, and they do unite against us. Yes, that's for sure. But they also compete with each other for more influence and more power. So, and there are divisions, because there's still the need of the state to protect them. If you are an American oligarch or plutocrat, you might have a global network of power that you built for your own company, but you need to be backed by your state to impose, because the raw power is not in your hands. The raw power is in the hands of the state. In order to impose, you have to manipulate. The problem is that the state is being privatized, and we do not understand. I think we do not grasp where we are. Where does it going to lead us? It's going to lead us to techno-fascism. That's where we are being led. And without class unity, but class unity only comes with understanding. You cannot have class unity because there is not a common ground, a common platform of understanding that we are leaking. We leak, not leaking. We do not have a common platform, an internationalist platform, a movement that really encompasses what we really need, what kind of political system and political economy and civilizational paradigm do we need, that is for the social well-being and within the limits, the ecological limits. We cannot continue just overshooting all boundaries. That should be, it's not about, we should not be fighting and dividing over who believes about climate change, or who believes in vaccines, or those cleavages are so stupid, dividing people that they have more in common because they are exploited by the same forces. They are under the rule of the same capitalist order, but they can be divided through this. That's why when people there is the progressive wokeism, okay, the woke culture that is identified with liberals, progressive liberals, you know, and the left. The left. What kind of left is really left if it doesn't primarily understands class wars? It's not the class war and capital as power. I mean, that is just how can we even believe that or identify certain just because you are progressive, you are left? No. I can be a left person and be a conservative, because it's about economics. It's about what kind of economic and order, and it's not about culture. Culturally, I might be a conservative person, and in terms of class and politics, political economy, I can be far left, whatever that means. So because there is the need for a really project on the left, really political, but it has to be political economy. Capital as power versus class unity or class, let me rephrase it, class unity. It's imperative to reclaim the state, to make the state work for the many, for all of us actually, not letting the state being used by capital as power, by the oligarchy, because we just keep calling our systems liberal democracies. They are not liberal democracies. They are illiberal. They are fascistic oligarchies, okay? They are fascistic oligarchies dominated by oligarchs and plutocrats alike. There is no, and by fascists, I mean that the outside, the facade, there is a liberal facade, you know, but the core is fascistic, and that's why we are going we are paving the way to fascism, to techno-fascism. I mean, I don't care about how is it painted, you know, techno utopia, you know, it can be a techno dystopia, not a techno utopia. Because it can be framed as the future of humanity, to save humanity from itself, which means saving humanity from itself means exactly that the capitalist class, in this case the tech oligarchs, want to impose us a technocratic order, okay, a technocratic fascistic order, in order to save us from the system they want to keep forever, which is capitalism. That's why it is the core of our understanding needs to go through the understanding of the Kapitalocene, the understanding the core of capital as power, in order to see that these people they might use words, they might look, they know, they hijack the progressive, some sort of progressive language, ideals even, but just to serve their interests. That's why we cannot we should not allow ourselves. I mean, how can we again? These people are billionaires, and if you believe they just make they are billionaires because they are honest people, I mean, you are really delusional. They are not honest. They are businessmen, and you can say, okay, but businessmen cannot be honest. Of course, there are honest businessmen, but these people that go to that they can really, the ones that really are get to the top of the pyramid, I do not believe they are honest people. There are many honest people that become rich. I do not doubt that they become rich by legal means and working hard, and that's why they hijack the meritocratic principle, because there is merit. But you can instrumentalize and weaponize any word, any concept, any idea. And that's the reality where we live, in order always to divide us, only to create these fractures, these social fractures that do not allow the fabric of society to become united. But that's what they do with also foreign policy. If you look, for example, the case of the Libya, the destruction of Libya and Iraq and other places. This is not about people, oh, it's because of oil. Yes, of course, it's because of controlling the oil. But it is also to keep to not allow these countries to acquire political agency, not only economic, that they become a political force in the world, a geopolitical force, that they cannot unite with each other to fight imperialism. That's how we need to understand it, that there is an imperial force that needs to wreck, to keep the world divided, fractured, balkanized, in order that there are no power. That was the policy, that was the American foreign policy from especially the neocons like Paul Wolfowitz and others, that they were aware that they should not allow any country to become a peer adversary. But it seems that they just could not do it. They were not able. That's why we are today in the situation where we are. Now it's we could say that we are already in a multipolar world. I think it's not exaggeration to say that. Where does it will bring us? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Right now, nobody can predict what is going to the reality of the world in 20 years, or maybe in 2 years. There is the specter of a global war. Yes, sure. What kind of war, how will it end? Nobody knows. So, what is the solution for the problems we have? Because we share it doesn't matter. The reality, the Chinese reality is different from the American reality, and then it's different from the European reality, and within the EU countries there are lots of differences. But as working class, as ordinary citizens, which is even more important to understand, to re-emphasize the role of the citizen, not only as workers, because sometimes I think people do not believe they are working class. It's stupid, but it's true that the people talk about working class. But who is the working class? I think people just are exploited. They live just from paycheck to paycheck. They are overworked. They are overwhelmed by worries. They don't know where. They don't have the money for any unpredicted problem that comes. A health problem. The car needs to be repaired, or some sort of a problem in the house that needs to be fixed, or whatever it is. But nevertheless, these same people, when they listen, and they kind of dismiss being working class, and this is bad. That's why maybe it's better to make people understand that they are citizens, and as citizens we need political agency, and we need to unite because we belong to society. Society does exist. Society is controlled by the wealthy, because they are the ones that craft the rules, the laws, that change the role of the institutions. Okay? That's why they use capital as power to control us. And we need to understand that this is not communist talk. This is realistic talk. Okay? This is what happens. This is what is happening with your life right now. That you are not allowed to have a life. Because why? Because you don't have any agency. Nothing that happens in society, you have no control over anything. You are just supposed to function. You are just a cog in the machine while you are needed, because you are disposable. You are part of the growing useless class. So class unity means that the citizens that do need to work every day to put food on the table, it doesn't matter if you work for yourself. If you are self-employed, or if you have a micro business or a small business, or even a medium business, if you struggle all the time, Why do you struggle? Why do you have to to be so indebted? While the big fat cats can leverage, they have capital to leverage. They can they not only control wealth and capital, but they use that capital as leverage over everything. They do not acquire assets or control assets because they have the capital also, but they can use the capital as leverage. So that's why we have a system based on debt, and that's why also debt is also used as capital power. And we need to understand these deep roots of social control. And only class unity. And okay, if you think that you are not a worker, you don't belong to the working class, or if you believe that you are just temporarily part of the working class, okay? Because somehow you will be a millionaire, or you will live on rents. That's why so many people want to become investors. They become part of the financial class. The people that live on rents. They don't need to work with their hands, or they don't even to work with ideas, or they just collect rents. That's a financial. Again, financial capitalism is evil. It would be a sin. It is a sin, actually. If you are a religious person and do not understand financial capitalism as a sin, as a crime against humanity, you don't understand. I mean, this is to me so clear, but that it doesn't matter. Because everybody wants to become an entrepreneur. And by entrepreneur, it's not about being inventing anything new, okay? It's not about producing anything. It's about being a financial entrepreneur. You just, so it can be Bitcoin, it can be other cryptocurrencies. It's not even a currency, it's not even money. But it doesn't matter. If you can speculate, it is Ponzi schemes. that allow some people to make youth to become rich without producing and doing anything useful to society. It is the opposite. These people have been destroying, causing immense unnecessary suffering. They are not responsible for economic development. They are responsible for class divisions. They have been using immense amounts of resources, the top of this financial pyramid, okay? The top of the real plutocrats. They've been using immense resources to keep us, to colonize our brains, to colonize our minds with the libertarian, right-wing libertarianism, okay, anarcho-capitalism, neoliberalism ideas of the free market, these ideas of market fundamentalism, of all the the market economy, this and that, just lies to use capital as power against us. And by us I mean most countries are powerless against these mega corporations, banks, financial institutions, private equity firms, all these hedge funds and all these people. We are venture capitalists, all you name it. Some of them, they have so much, not only wealth, not only capital, but is the leverage they can use. Because you do not forget it, these institutions, they are responsible to create the banking system we have in place, is responsible to they create money out of nothing. That's why it is dangerous, not because you can access credit to buy a house or to buy a car or whatever you need for your life. No, that's not the problem. It is the problem because you have to pay interest and compound interest. That's a problem. But it's because they can leverage each other. They can leverage each other to, in amounts that we can only that we don't even understand, and that's why all their power grows fast, and we become powerless, more disempowered and more disempowered and more disempowered. So class unity, whatever we could do, or whatever we can do to promote class unity and to understand that the role of the state is to the functions of the state and its institutions is to promote economic sovereignty, is to promote the well-being of all citizens, and is to be internationalist in the sense that we need international cooperation, in terms of geoeconomics and geopolitics, and also in military terms. We need cooperation. That's the key word. If we want to survive, forget about these tech oligarchs who want to convince you that the only thing that matters is technology. Because as Peter Thiel said, they want to replace politics with technology, because they know, as Peter Thiel said, that they could not convince people. They need to impose that order they want for the world through technology. They want to use technology as a tool, as capital as power. As technology in the form of capital as power, because technology is capital, is a leverage for power. And this is important to understand, that the state as a role, do not allow these people, because there are many on the left. Don't I agree with many principles of anarchy principles? Yes, but our societies are too complex. We are not going to go back to any form of anarcho-primitivism or other forms of organization. We need the state, but we can have participatory democracy. It's more achievable, participatory democracy and participatory economics, than the anarchic forms of organizing ourselves. It's more delusional. It's delusional because we cannot do it. We live in our societies are too complex, too multi-layered. There are lots of it is an impossibility. So we need to understand what is the role, the function of the state. So it's not that we do not become engaged in ideas, do not become victims of certain right-wing propaganda that tries to tell us that small government, this small government. No, they do not want small government. They want small government for what they think is important, which is to keep the people. The people they want that vote for them, they are the ones that they want to not having access to universal basic services, to not having access to social housing, not having access. I mean, they want, because the idea that everything that you have to pay for everything. It seems logical. It seems even fair, but it is not. If you go deep into it, you will understand. If you understand capital as power, you will understand why commodifying everything, every aspect of our lives, financializing everything, okay? Nature, ecosystem services, and everything else. We have commodified relations at every level. And that is, it's an absurdity. And again, as Voltaire said, if they can make us believe absurdities, they can make us commit atrocities. Okay? So, we need to come with ideas that to generate class unity, to go beyond these cleavages that in one side we have working people, people that depend on a wage to survive, that they can, okay, I'm a climate denier, I am an anti-vaxxer, so if you are a climate change fundamentalist, so you cannot be fundamentalists in denialism or in any we cannot have two forms of wokeism, one for the conservative side, right side of the political spectrum, and another form of wokeism on the so-called, on the progressive side of, liberal side of political spectrum. No, do not call it left. Do not call it left. So so why should we be divided and do not understand that we belong to the same group? I mean, I can understand both sides. I do understand both sides. I do understand why people can be anti-vaxxer and why people can be pro-vaxxer. I do not use it to say, okay, I dismiss you. That's why we need to discuss it in terms of why are certain people inclined to one side and the others inclined to the other. And we can discuss it. We can sit at the table and discuss it, because we need to unite. Otherwise we are screwed. It's going to become ugly for many of us, for most of us probably. We need to unite in what kind, just discuss what kind of society and civilization do we want for the future. And I believe that we need a state. I believe that we need a political economy, a social and ecological political economy. It's a kind of, I would frame it as an eco-socialist. I call it not only ecological, but holistic ecological civilization. I can explain what I mean with that. That is what I see it's needed. But we need to discuss. That's not about being against technology, not about being against this and that. It's just about limits. We cannot survive if we do not have limits. That is, we need to, otherwise, if we believe that's a good thing to be controlled by immensely powerful concentration, by a few people with an immense concentration of wealth, then again, capital as power, that want to keep us divided, atomized, tribalized. And then they will do whatever they want with us. Because again, these people do not see us as human beings, that they not see anything as, there is no, for them, they only care, these people are, most of them, sociopaths and psychopaths, narcissistic, megalomanous. They have megalomaniac, grandiose ideas. That's where they live, focus in that. They don't care about us, they use us. We are just disposable peons, cannon fodder and useless. We are part of the useless class, the growing useless class. So, I think, I think we need to give some comprehensive thoughts around what we really want as a society, or it matters to us that we have some agency, or we are supposed to be only followers. Are we supposed to look always on for saviors, for heroes, for authorities, for someone speaking from someone speaking from the ivory towers? Are we supposed to depend on them to save us, to tell us which way should we pick, how we should live our lives? Yeah, but we need some unity. We need to have ideas and projects for a society and for a civilization that works. And cooperation is needed. Cooperation is needed at the national level and at the international level. Because you need a global, not a global elite controlling us, or a single country, or a single empire of hegemon dictating the global governance. We do not need it at all, but we need some form of a global order that's international law and international cooperation that allows to the flow of commerce internationally without respecting the sovereignty of the countries and for the well-being of every single human being, and also nature, animals, everything. That's why I call it holistic ecological civilization. Class unity, a state that functions as it should function for the well-being of every one of us, against capital as power. Capital, we need to put limits, ceilings. We cannot keep continuing saving and being uh, controlled by too big to fail corporations, banks, financial institutions, or even governments. The government is not about being big or small. Government is about functioning as it should. It's what the government does. It's not how big it is or how small it is. It's what the government does that matters. Nationally, domestic affairs and foreign affairs. So think that class unity is absolutely, it's an imperative. Okay, that is all for today. Thanks for listening. I will be back soon.